So, I'm going to be talking about a whole life, an integrated approach to sustainable well-being. One does not become enlightened by imagining figures of light, but by making the darkness conscious. And then I like to think with a twinkle in his eye and a wry smile, he added, this procedure, however, is disagreeable and therefore not very popular. I want to just start with a little bit of a primer on mindfulness because I want to actually do it with you. It's a nice way to start a morning, even if you don't do So we're integrating right within the circumference of our own skull, we're integrating. But we're also integrating information throughout this skin bag of ours, right? But it's time, it really is time to get beyond the self. So what we are also integrating, it seems to me, is self, community, and planet. So to what end? Resolving big problems, which I'm going to talk about, 4 of them, through measuring and maximizing sustainable well-being. How? I hate to say it, I think it's going to necessitate lifestyle change in a big way. And in order to facilitate lifestyle change, we're going to have to deal with emotional reactivity. Mindfulness is one way. Now I just want to talk about a few problems. So we know about climate change. I, as a psychologist up here, talking to other clinicians, mental health professionals about climate change. And my answer to you is we cannot help but talk about it. This is my part of being a full human being and talking to other full human beings. No one can predict the future. I've learned, if nothing else, as a scientist, I've learned that. So we don't know. There's lots of stuff that can happen. But these are the best scientists giving their best estimate. That's problem number 1. Problem number 2, peak oil. It's never going to run out. The reason it's never going to run out, right now it takes 1 barrel of oil to get about 2 barrels out of the ground. When that ratio is 1 to 1, there's no point. And when it happens, every barrel of oil after that will be more expensive than the barrel before. So what? But let me just give you an example of what happens when oil becomes more expensive. If we use the going rate, $10 an hour for agricultural workers, which costs us roughly $480,000 a year, more per person to get the same level of agriculture. Problem number 3. There are between 85,000 and 100,000 human-made chemicals. We have information on health effects for these chemicals for a very, very small percentage of them. And in terms of neurodevelopmental toxicity, I mean, I know who really cares about the developing brain, right? But 78% of them, we have no clue. We just don't know. We have no idea. So, 4th problem. Nobel laureate, 1962. One can think of the middle of the 20th century as the end of one of the most important social revolutions in history, the virtual elimination of infectious disease as a significant factor in social life. And you can see why he would say that. There's the diseases we've been dealing with, infectious diseases. This work, by the way, is Dr. Giorgio Mexicano, who's a specialist in infectious diseases here at UW. But here's what he says is going to happen. And here's why. Do we really want to create drug-resistant bacteria for cheaper bacon? These are my 2 boys. Cancer is just a word, unless you've experienced it, right? And all the suffering I've talked about here, they're just words. Or they can be just words, unless we take a second to at least know how profoundly ignorant we may be of other people's suffering. And then the weight of this is staggering. You know what? We as a nation, what we say is, your child is sick with cancer, your mom or dad needs help, here's what we'll do for you. We'll give you 6 weeks off, unpaid. Glad you saved up, right? For just that eventuality. This is so inhumane. What are we doing, you know? Any one of us would bring a blanket to a neighbor whose house burned down. But we as a culture, our policy is something like, look man, you know, if you didn't put a blanket in a shed somewhere, what can I tell you? You got a hydra here, right? Many heads. You cut one off, you got another one. Bisphenol A, people heard about this in plastic water bottles, plastic everything, right? Very bad. So we go, oh, well, we got a bisphenol A emergency. Let's get bisphenol A out. Whoa, bisphenol A, bisphenol A. Well, tomorrow it'll be bisphenol B. The interesting thing about gross domestic product is that if you get divorced, yeah, it's good for gross domestic product. It's really good. Because you sell one house, you buy two more. You hire lawyers, 2 lawyers, flowing in divorce, you know. If you get mugged, same thing. Get hit on the head, got to get stitches, got another lawyer. It's great for GDP. And we're maximizing this. So how are we doing on the Sustainable Well-being Index? Low numbers are good. Number 1 is good, 178 is bad. We are 150 out of the world. That's the US. So we have mastered, it seems to me in America, the fine art of simultaneously decreasing our well-being while maximizing the resources we get for that low well-being. We work more, achieve less, and destroy the planet. So they concluded the brain converges on solutions that minimize negative and maximize positive affect states. So what we see is really this sort of like, what pops out the pipeline in terms of what we believe is, well, as long as it makes me feel good, then it's good. Then I believe it. That's really bad reality sampling. And my premise is really bold here. It's very radical. It is, if you actually want to solve a problem, you have to actually know what it is. Power of 1? No. Right? I mean, it's the power of many. It's the power of us. That's the power. So in order to do changing, we need to change together, which means our culture needs to change. It's not okay to blame people for getting fat from eating McDonald's and not have any blame for McDonald's advertising for millions of dollars. That's not how human beings work. You don't stick a kid in a lunch line and give him a choice between a Big Mac and a broccoli when the competition is millions of dollars worth of McDonald's ads versus a very skilled, let's pretend, 45-minute lecture on nutrition. Well, they chose the Big Mac. We gave them a choice. We can live in better ways. We can. Here's an example on the north side of Madison. I happen to live in this one, which is how I got the pictures, etc. But it's just to say we could do this in our own communities, but I want to just introduce you to it. Hey, community-supported agriculture. You buy a share, you get your food. My house is here, and that's where my food comes from. That's local. 5-acre prairie restoration. The community gardens, and then the co-housing community. Co-housing is a balance between privacy and community. It's a form of intentional living. Now that could scare people. What do you mean intentional living? I mean, again, the radical hypothesis that it might be better to actually have people live together who want to live together. Throw people together based on their paycheck. Children. I moved from a Near East neighborhood where kids played on the sidewalk. I moved to this. And our lives became a lot easier. That was it. Because there's a courtyard and they play. And it's safe. And we know our neighbors. There's 30 units here. We were pretty social people on my last block. But we didn't know 30 households. Now we know, I think, 28 households. How are we going to actually increase our well-being on fewer resources? It may need cooperation. Sharing meals, childcare, cars, financing to increase renewables. The largest obstacles are the intention to change and that emotional reactivity prevents people from getting along.